So thank you to the Center for Security Policy for the invitation to take part in this panel about Venezuela. I haven't been invited to tell some of the revelations I made with my book, Mujer and Chavez. The book is in Spanish, but I am preparing an English version. It's about to be published. I think the book really contributed to show finally the criminal phase of the Chavez leadership. Something that was known, but now is every day with people going out from the country and speaking freely out what is happening in Venezuela is every day clearer. And the book speaks about the personal involvement of Hugo Chavez and other high-ranking officials in the drug trafficking, the tight relations with Hezbollah and the revolutionary armed forces of Colombia, the hidden deals with Iran that allowed Iran to escape the international sanctions, the fraud in the elections that had already mentioned now, and other negative behavior by Venezuela's government. I will speak especially about the involvement of Chavism in drug trafficking and relations with Hezbollah and the FARC. Chavez turned his country into a drug trafficking hub. Venezuela became, in a short period of time, the exit point of roughly 90% of the cocaine or drugs produced in Colombia that were shipped to the US and Europe. The thing is that Chavez himself was promoting this. It's not something that was done by rough elements, rough people, official in his government, but was a first choice policy by Chavez. He conceived it as an important part of his Bolivarian project, a way of supporting the Colombian guerrillas, who was opposed to the Colombian government, that this Colombian government was not pleased with the Chavez project for the region, and as well as a means to launch an asymmetric war against the US. The drug trafficking was not just tolerated by Chavez, but something wanted and organized by him. According with some testimonies provided by the witnesses that came here to the US, which some of them I could speak, Chavez personally met the FARC leadership in order to discuss all this business of the drugs, and he was periodically informed in his office about the main drug shipments through Venezuela territory in operations that often were directed by senior military commanders. Specifically, I will mention some episodes. No? One is the testimony of Leamsi Salazar, was already mentioned in the video. He was a member of the security detail of the President Chavez and a personal assistant of him. And he recalls a particular meeting in a state in Barinas that took place in 2007 with Chavez and some of the main leaders of the FARC, and Ivan Marquez, Rodrigo Granda, and Rafael Reyes. For 3 days, they were keeping some long conversations about different things, but something that this bodyguard that was attending Chavez and his guests, he could overhear some of the conversations. And according to him, they were part of the conversation was about the drugs and a payment to the FARC about specifically about $500 million to buy some of the products of the FARC. In the meeting was present as well in these days Rafael Ramirez, the president of a long time, for 10 years, president of PDVSA, the oil company, that is considered the main way that they had for money laundering, coming from the drugs, and something that little by little is appearing. The last piece of information in the Wall Street Journal speaks about corruption, but there is a lot of information. We know more about this use of PDVSA for money laundering. And was present as well Ramon Rodriguez Chacín, He was the owner of this estate where the meeting was took place, and he was a former Minister of Interior. This Rodriguez Chacín was in charge of relations with the FARC. Another important witness is Eladio Ponte. He is a former magistrate of the Supreme Tribunal of Justice in Caracas, and he fled Venezuela, came here to the US in 2012. And he says that in some of the meetings that he had in the Palace of Miraflores with Chavez, sometimes he could attend part of the briefings that one person was given to Chavez. This person was the General Carvajal. He was during a lot of time the head of the Directorate of Military Intelligence. And according to this magistrate, Chavez was receiving periodically these kind of briefings about, evidently, about other things of the military, but as well about the operations that were underway in that moment related with drugs. Both witnesses, the magistrate and the bodyguard of Chavez, I have mentioned earlier, they say as well that the main capo of this organization that we call the Cartel of the Sons is Diosdado Cabello, the president of National Assembly and number 2 of the Chavez regime. There is more information that I could got from this Salazar related with Cabello. Of course, this is a testimony of person, but I think that the American authorities have given a lot of credibility to this person because we could cross with all other information they had. And he mentioned 2 specific episodes related with Cabello. One of them is a trip that they did to Paraguaná Peninsula, something that he had to organize. This Salazar, because Salazar, after being a bodyguard or being in the security detail of Chavez, when Chavez died, he went with Cabello, and he organized this trip to Peninsula Paraguaná. And there they went to the beach, and in the beach were this General Carvajal, the head of the military intelligence, and there were some people with head masks and shotguns, and there were 4 speedboats loaded with drugs. That's something that have to go to Aruba, the island Aruba that was in front of the beach. And the last order of the party of leaving the boat was given by Cabello. Until then, normally was more, the common idea was that this Carvajal was the operating head of this organization, but this specific testimony says that no, that was Cabello that was giving the last order. Other testimonies of this bodyguard says that he was in the office of Cabello in Fortuna. Cabello, a part of the office that has in the parliament, he has another one in Fortuna. Fortuna is the main military premises in Caracas, where the Ministry of Defense, the military academy are located. And there a truck full with suitcases containing a stack of $100 bills. It was not the first time that truck came. According to this Salazar, the order of Cabello was that the truck will stop first to unload part of the cargo in the office of Tarek El-Saimi. Tarek El-Saimi now is the governor of Aragua. He was Minister of Interior, and later we'll mention as well for his relation with Hezbollah. This truck was coming from the CENIAT. It was an official truck from CENIAT. CENIAT is the National Service of Customs and Tax Management, and the head of this agency is José David Cabello. It's the Cabello's brother. And last thing about this Salazar is another episode that they went for a hunting trip to a state, and there he was able to see a bunker on the underground bunker, full of as well of money, a bunker with ladder, with electrical lighting, with the humidifier. And a colleague of Salazar says that he told him that he had saw such a bunker in other two places. The investigation of the DEA and testimonies collected by at least 3 federal prosecution offices, New York, Miami, and Houston, suggests that an indictment against Cabello is almost finished, but probably a formally closed, but probably is not formally closed due to political considerations. Such indictment against a very signified person of another country, something that is not just a work or a competent, should be approved by the Attorney General. Attorney General probably have to have an opinion by the White House. And it seemed that President Obama doesn't want to open a new front with Venezuela, and my opinion is that probably this indictment, although there's a lot of information against Cabello, will not be materialized, at least at the moment. In relation with Hezbollah, I have another testimony important. This is from Rafael Licea. He was Minister of Finance, and he tells about a trip that he was present. That was a trip to Damascus, and then there was an interview between Nicolás Maduro. In that moment, he was foreign minister. This is in the year 2007. It was a meeting between Nicolás Maduro and Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah. Isaiah told about this meeting to the American authorities. I don't have the details, but what sources say is that in this meeting between Maduro and Nasrallah, they agreed a great collaboration between the Venezuelan government and Hezbollah, especially more share of Hezbollah in the drug business, drug trafficking and money laundering, shipping of weapons to Hezbollah in Lebanon, providing a safe haven in Venezuela for cells or militants of Hezbollah, and using of Venezuelan passports to Hezbollah militants. One of this interview in Damascus happened in 2007. This year is very important about this relation between Chavez, Hezbollah, and Iran. At the beginning of the year was a meeting in Caracas between Chavez and Ahmadinejad, where they decided a lot of security issues. One of them was to put in service a new air connection between Caracas and Tehran, and when a stopover in Damascus. This stopover in Damascus allowed a more direct connection between Hezbollah and the Caribbean. And in one of these planes doing this route was used by this ISEA to go to Damascus for this interview. He was present. In one of the contacts that Luis Cabello has had with people trying to connect American authorities in order to get some kind of forgiveness for his future political career in Venezuela. In one of these intents of contact, he offered a list of Hezbollah members resident in Venezuela. Someone that saw the list says that the list had 300 names with all the details about telephone numbers, ID, probably a false ID or Venezuelan ID, and emails addresses. 300 from them, probably 12 were deemed as terrorists. the Venezuela official more involved with Hezbollah has been at least during a lot of time Ghazi Nasser al-Din. He was a number 2 in the Damascus embassy in Syria, but make a lot of trips to Beirut as well, no? And he was instrumental in giving the visas and passports to Hezbollah activists. In this work of issuing passports, one other person important was, already mentioned, this former Minister of Interior, Tariq al-Saibi. And finally, the last thing I want to mention is a trip of that this Ghazi Nasser al-Din made to Cancun in 2013. He went there with his brother Odey, and this Odey has managed a training camp for Hezbollah and other groups in Venezuela, and the trip was monitored by some U.S. agencies, and the information is coming from there is that they contacted some drug cartels in Yucatan Peninsula, and supposedly there is a kind of deal of logistic access to the U.S. border with Mexico, U.S. border, in exchange of giving part of the drug business in Venezuela.